Hello and welcome to the part of my presentation about Ferris State University and how we addressed harmful language in our metadata. My name is Deja Rubel and I came up with the idea for this project to eliminate some of the offensive language that is buried underneath our cutter numbers. But of course I couldn't have done it alone. We are a very small staff. Well, not a small staff, small crew of librarians and staff. And we're so flexible these days, we kind of don't have a department. It's become a porous entity. So, two librarians, David Scott and myself, and one technical services assistant, Chelsea Mitchell, who did the bulk of the actual work other than the shifting. She coordinated all the relabeling and the retyping and the catalog record updating. Did the bulk of the project, and there was also some students that I'd like to thank that helped David shift the American literature section, as well as our student worker Ethan, who helped relabel the books. But yes, we are small, and there are, not a lot of hands to do the work, but small projects like these can have a big impact. So for those of you who are not as familiar with Library of Congress cataloging, the cutter number is often derived from the author's last name or the title of the work, but there are other cutter numbers that are used to subdivide topics, and the one that we are looking at in this case is the one for elements in the population. Now, using elements in the population as a means of categorization is quite problematic because these are considered groups that deviate from the quote-unquote normal person. So for things other than occupations and ethnicities especially, it is not the best means of categorization. However, we wanted to eliminate the offensive association of the cutter numbers N3, N4, N5, which stood for Negroes, and the lovely older manuals I have in my possession for how to do numbers for that range do specifically say, Afro-Americans, see Negroes. And that is definitely not the environment we want to present to our students. We do recognize that our choice as predominantly, or almost all, white-based folks, that A37 for African American is not necessarily acknowledging or inclusive of the entire diversity of the African diaspora. However, it does seem to be a reasonably stable term for the group of people we have historically considered enslaved, etc. However, again, elements in the population is a problematic category. Simply because things such as descendants of Dutch settlers could also be considered African American, depending on how you look at it. So, yeah, not my favorite classification. So, due to the nature of our collection, again, we are mostly a technical school and not very big on the humanities and languages arts section. Most of our biggest impact was in the English language and literature, so PE through PS, specifically American literature, which, makes sense. We have a lot of African American authors. It took us about 3 months to complete the entire project, including the shifting, and I will show you in my last minute with you all the next slide, which has some counts. So psychology, we changed 27 books, cutter numbers, history and art was 43. As you can see, the bulk is 344 in English language and literature, and then another 18 in medicine and bibliography, for a total of 432 books that were basically, we had to create local call numbers in our catalog because the Library of Congress ones are still Library of Congress assigned. But we did that, and we pointed out and relabeled all of these. And again, David Scott and the lovely student workers helped shift the large part of the English language and literature. And we did weed some books as well, and also sent some into archives because their information and or portrayals are somewhat outdated. But again, we are a bit lucky in terms of not having much in the way of history and humanities collections. So obviously if that is your college's focus, you are probably going to find more of these. So I encourage you to eliminate your Negroes cutter numbers as well, if for no other reason than to not have awkward conversations with students. So thank you for listening, and if you need to reach out to me while I'm at Luna, I'm definitely still picking up my email, and I look forward to your questions.